Sarah Glanville as your host. Here at Leyton UK, we know our people are more than just their job. The careers of our people are part of their unique lives, and who they are as a whole person is what fundamentally contributes to their success and the success of our business. In the podcast, we'll spend time with one of our exceptional people from across the business. And in each episode, we'll look to explore the people behind the job titles, the unique and brilliant stories that make them who they are. In episode 6, I had the loveliest chat with the wonderful Zac Crossland, our head of energy here at Leyton UK. Zac leads our energy team, making an incredible difference for businesses across the UK by helping them to reduce the rising cost of energy and to become more sustainable for the future. Our chat today, however, was focused on Zac's recent achievements on the road, completing the impressive Brighton and London Marathons back to back, raising money for Mosaic Clubhouse, a mental health charity for young people in Lambeth. Zac talks about the work that goes into being capable to distance run and how that transfers into his work here at Leyton UK and other areas of his life. This is a brilliant episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So thank you for tuning in, grab yourself a coffee and get ready to be inspired by the people that are Leyton UK. Hello Zac, welcome to episode 6 of the Life at Leyton podcast. It's so great to have you here for today's episode. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be on it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I've really been looking forward to this episode. You've been up to some incredible things in the last few months. Do you want to fill us all in on what life has looked like for you outside of Leyton?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's not been that incredible for most of it. Most of it has been me getting up very early and going for lots of runs in the dark, in the rain, the wind, in the slow, in the sleet. So I decided to run 2 marathons in April. I decided to run the Brighton Marathon at the start of April, and then the London Marathon, which was about 2-3 weeks ago. So when I made that decision, so what I've been doing for most of this year has just been running. So my life's revolved around it. So from the very start of January, so I decided Christmas, I ate and drank to excess, my last blowout exactly. And come the new year, it was running. So I spent a lot of the year getting up at 6 a.m, running around Battersea Park in the dark. Yeah, that's been my year so far. And then come April, the exciting bit, which is the actual marathons themselves, which they're fun. It's the training that's the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly impressive. So running the Brighton and the London Marathon, were you doing that for any reason other than the making up for Christmas, or were you raising money for charity?
Well, I wasn't raising money for charity. I mean, the way it happened is I've run most of my life, but not a massive amount. Come lockdown, or just before lockdown, my wife took up running. She'd never run in her life, and she decided with her company to run the Sierra Leone half marathon. And actually, after she trained for it, she quite enjoyed running, so it kind of got me back into doing a bit more running. So we decided we'd run the Brighton Marathon, and we booked to do it of March 2020, just as lockdown started. So that was cool. So we managed to do our first marathon in 2021. We did the marathon again in 2022. Both of those I hadn't done for charity. I'd done just for the challenge of doing it. Yeah. So we thought, well, what a good opportunity in April is to do 2 marathons and do it for charity. So I ran for a local charity called Mosaic Clubhouse. They're really local to me. I've lived in South London now for 22 years, I think. And they're a charity that's based in Brixton, which is just down the road from me. They do some amazing stuff. I went to visit them. They do some just wonderful work. So they're a mental health charity. And essentially, as they say, as a clubhouse, people who go there get involved in the day-to-day running of the organisation. So mental health difficulties can go along, but they can work in the kitchen, they work in the marketing department, the place run on a daily basis. So going down there was amazing to see it. I ran for them, and it was really exciting actually joining in and being part of a team of people running for a charity. And small charities, I can't stress enough how important the money is to these charities. You know, the London Marathon is probably for this organisation the biggest fundraising opportunity of the year. And, you know, it's a good opportunity, particularly with the last couple of years and how it's been, you know, for these events haven't been running. So from an organisation like that, they've lost a lot of funding that they would have for London Marathons that haven't been taking place. I felt really responsible for going out there and trying to raise as much money for them, because I've seen the work they do and it is phenomenal, and it makes a big difference, and it makes a huge difference, that money. So yeah, I was excited to do it. Actually, it was really good, and they've been really, really supportive anyway throughout, and I got my little running top and all sorts of things with my name on it, so people shouting my name as I ran around the course. So really good.
Congratulations on both the marathons, and I can imagine the difference that money is going to make for Mosaic Clubhouse. You obviously don't need much motivation to go out running, Zac. You clearly do get some sort of enjoyment from it. I won't understand, but that's great for you. I'm glad you enjoy it. But I think that getting to do it for a charity as well, and being able to see that money put into action, to go visit the charity and see what they're doing with the money you're able to raise, must be so rewarding, on top
it really
of the
is. Yeah. And it does make it, and it does motivate you. You know, there are so many times you look at February and the weather was so awful.
Yeah.
And it's dark. So, you know, I'm at work all day. So it's dark when I get up. It's dark when I finish work. So there's no choice but to be running around streets in the dark. It's cold. It's wet. It's miserable. And so I do love running. I get a lot out of it. But I'm not going to pretend I love running on a Monday morning at 6 a.m. In February. It's not much fun. Thankfully, I did manage to get a trip in to see some of the energy team at Leyton in Casablanca in late February. So that was nice, because I managed to get a few runs in Casablanca. Yeah. That was a lot different, and that was warm, and it reminded me what running in the summer's like. Rather than having layer after layer on, I was shorts and t-shirts. So I had that. But yeah, do you know what? It is quite motivational. You do think about that when you get up on a Tuesday morning in February and you kind of think, I don't want to do this. And then you do think, well, do you know what though? It's not that big an effort. It's an hour out of my day. I'm getting something out of it through fitness, and it makes such a difference to those people. It was a motivation to me.
Yeah, the extra motivation that you needed. I mean, marathon running fascinates me. It's really far removed from anything that I think I'll ever be able to do. You kind of touched on this a little bit, in that you got back into running with your wife taking up the sport. But how did you find running in the first place? If we go way back to like the first time you kind of decided to start putting on your trainers and going out for a run?
Yeah, I think I ran when I was younger. So I obviously ran in my teens, and I ran cross country, and I ran to I would say a fairly decent standard. So I was originally from Blackpool, so from Lancashire. So I ran for Lancashire when I was 15. So I ran a bit. So I did a bit. But then, you know, in my 20s and 30s, I did less. I had other more interesting things to do than go out running. And I think for me, running has always been. So I'm one of those people who I struggle to go to the gym. It isn't some interest to me. And I know a lot of people find the gym quite difficult to go to as a place. I mean, it's just for some people, it isn't for others. I think, you know, it's important to look after yourself. I want to be healthy. I want to be as healthy as I can be. And I find running is something that I can do easily. So I think the thing that I find easy about it is you can get up and just go running. And it's great for stress relief. So from a physical point of view, I find it from a mental health point of view. You know, running for Mosaic was really important to me. It's something I'm quite passionate about, the mental health work they do. But I know from running that actually it helps with that as well. So I found from a mental health point of view, it's a great thing to do. The other thing I like about running, the one thing I really like, is you're competing against yourself. That's the only competitor you have. You're not racing anyone. You're racing yourself. You're competing against yourself. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what level you're at. And you can run, and you can beat your own personal best. You can beat your own. And if your challenge is just getting up, getting out, putting trainers on and running a mile, you can achieve that challenge. And I like that about running in a way that I think with other sports is quite difficult. You know, if you find it quite if you're quite anxious about going to a gym, or you're quite anxious about joining a club, running something you can do. So I think for me, so there's that. But I'll be honest, the other thing was, you know, I'm super competitive, and my wife goes and starts running from doing nothing ever. She does couch to 5k, then she does a half marathon Sierra Leone, and I'm kind of like, that's not, I need to beat that. And then sadly, she's equally super competitive. So not this state whereby if she goes out and runs 6 miles, I run 6.1 miles, and she goes out and runs 6.2 miles. So I was just really super competitive, so that helped as well. But I love it. I think I genuinely love running, and I think it's something that works for me. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. It's the thing that works for me, so that's why I love it so much.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Like, I think any sort of physical sport is so, for me personally, I find it also so linked in with how I feel as mental health, and able to go in and channel a stressful day or a challenging little period of your life, channeling that energy into physical activity. And you have to do something that you enjoy. And for you, that's running, which is phenomenal. And I really like that you make it, you drive that competitive energy towards yourself. And can I beat my personal best? Can I run further or faster than I have before? And you've obviously taken that all the way to marathon, which is incredibly far. And how did you compare, I guess, had you run marathons previously before you'd taken them back up with your wife?
I hadn't. So I'd run the Great North Run up in Newcastle, which is a half marathon. So I'd done that distance, but I'd never run a marathon until 2021. Always been something I wanted to do. The London Marathon in particular. So when I moved to London, I was 23, and I remember going to see it the very first year I moved to London, and think I want to do that. And then a lot of people, I was in my 20s, other things suddenly go over, and you're out having fun, or whatever's happening in your life. I'd always wanted to do it. So when the opportunity came up to run the Brighton Marathon, I was like, absolutely, it's what I've always wanted to do. I mean, I do wish I'd done them a lot earlier. I mean, my knees and my body generally isn't quite in as good a shape as it was when I was in my 20s. I remember running the Great North Run, which is a half marathon in Newcastle. I remember the night before, going out the night before. I remember going out drinking the night before, which now fills me with such dread that I was able to go out. I think I was 21. I could go out, I could go for a drink, I could then run a half marathon. I can't do that anymore. So I wish I had, but actually, interestingly enough, I think it's been more of a challenge because I have to train for it. I can't get round the course without doing that level of training. So, and for me, I didn't realize until I did the first one, the bit I think is the biggest challenge is the fact that for 10, 11 weeks beforehand is training and going out every consistently training. And it links into so much, in life that I do and in work as well. It's the same. It's that consistency. And it's if you're consistent in what you do and you're consistent in your actions, you get results from that. And I found in work, and I think it replicates that from a marathon point of view, going out and running every week for 11 weeks, trusting the process on the day when you get to the marathon and you're feeling like death at 21 miles. All of a sudden, it's that training that you've done, that effort you've put that's going to get you over the line. And it's trusting that I've put the effort in, I've done the training, it will get me over the line. And it's really interesting concept that. And I find I find that process quite interesting.
You're so right. That resilience that you build up, that ability to trust the process and know that the work that you put in will pay dividends in time. That as a skill set can be transferred to so many areas of your life. I love that. That's fantastic. Moving on to maybe a little bit more work-related topic. You joined us here at Leyton UK in September. A fast 9 months, I'm sure. I'd love to jump into all the great work that you're doing here as our head of energy, but could you please talk us through your career and what brought you to Leyton in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So Leyton is a tiny departure in terms of some of the stuff I've done over the last probably 9 years, but linked so massively into it that it was a kind of a natural step for me. So I've worked in the energy industry for about 10 years now. And a lot of that, probably for the opening few years, was very much around energy procurement and helping organisations buy energy and make sure they're buying energy at a really good price. But that changed a bit, probably over the last 4 or 5 years. And I've always had a bit of a passion for sustainability and how we can help as a nation, how we can do better in terms of our energy usage. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I've spent a lot of time helping organisations with that. So how do they reduce their energy usage? How do they become more sustainable? How do they become more green? And helping organisations on that kind of journey, because right now businesses are really suffering with that. They're really struggling on how to do it. Essentially, we've got an entirely new industry that didn't exist. 15 years ago, there was industry in sustainability. Now there is. So it's an entirely new industry. So if you're a very large organisation, you're really struggling probably right now to know how. You might have the desire to go, I want to be more sustainable, but how do you do that? You then add on to that the last couple of years where the cost of energy has gone through the roof. It's ridiculously expensive. Business owners are having to decide about whether they're trying to keep their heads above water first and foremost. So talking about sustainability isn't something that's been high on their agenda. So that's kind of my background's mainly, I would suggest, sustainability and how you can help businesses in being able to be more sustainable and think about their energy usage a bit more. So the opportunity came up at Leyton was a really interesting one, because Leyton work in the industry, but obviously are not known as an energy organisation, but a tax organisation. So what was interesting for me was how Leyton can support businesses in exactly the same way, just through a completely different route. So if you look at right now as an organisation, we can really support businesses in saving money on their energy bills in ways that I know businesses don't know about. And I know this because I've come from a consultancy world where I work with organisations all day, and I know they don't know about these opportunities. So, you know, when I had the opportunity to come to Leyton and be able to do that, I thought, fantastic. You know, as an energy department, we're fairly new as well. You know, we've been doing energy now at Leyton for about 3 years, so it's a fairly new product. So it's a really good chance. We're established, we know what we're doing, and it was a good chance to be able to come in and help even more organisations in a way that I probably wasn't able to before. That's kind of got me here. So sustainability is probably my big thing, but I've been working in energy for 10 years now, so I know a fair bit about it.
You're clearly passionate about sustainability, and it's great that you feel like you're getting more of an opportunity to explore that as an avenue alongside you know, other energy products that we offer as well, and supporting businesses to be financially viable in the energy crisis that we're having at the moment. So do you want to talk us through the incredible and exciting work that you're doing at Leyton now?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what we do is we help organisations reduce their energy bills through all the many taxation schemes that are set up for them. And from an energy point of view, well, absolutely, that's what we do. We focus on the energy taxation schemes that are available to them. But, you know, from us as a business, as Leyton as a business, the truth is we're talking to businesses that we know have been impacted by the cost of energy, impacted every business in the UK. So the great work I think we're doing around energy is fantastic, and we're helping them with the rebate schemes. But actually, we've got, you know, the R&D schemes we have, the capital allowance schemes we have, they're all essentially helping businesses in the same way in terms of how can they really manage their energy costs and they reduce their energy costs. Well, one way is reduce costs elsewhere. So the stuff that we do at the moment is we're trying to work with as many businesses as possible to let them know about probably the two main schemes that we have, which is a climate change levy scheme and an EII scheme. And those two schemes are both for businesses that allow them to reduce their energy bill. So essentially, an energy bill is made up of lots of things, but lots of them are taxes. Both of these schemes allow them to actually not have to pay those taxes on those bills. And in some of those schemes, we can go back 3-4 years to be able to kind of claim that money back. So from a business point of view, we're there to really support them with it. And what we really offer is expertise in those areas, because you know, it's not straightforward. Their taxation scheme set up by the government, so a lot of the HMRC guidelines are difficult to understand. We've been doing it now for 3 years. We understand it. We're experts in what we do. So the thing that I think we offer best is really good advice. We know it, we get it, we understand it, and probably bring to the table things that organisations themselves don't know. So if I'm a business and I'm a financial director right now, why would I be on top of every single government taxation scheme? I wouldn't be. It's not my job. But it is our job. That is our job. Our job is to understand all energy taxation schemes. That is exactly what we do. It's what we do every day when we get here and come to work. So, you know, if I was a business, I would be talking to someone like myself and saying, well, look, what is there for me? Is there anything? It's worth that conversation. It's worth that hour long with your business to say, is there anything that I could do right now that could reduce my costs? No, that was available to me. It's available to them. So why wouldn't you go for it? So, you know, my message to any kind of FD or anyone like that, you know, you've just got your new energy contract. You'll be paying 3-4 times what you were. What can you do? Well, the only two options you have are either reduce your usage, which I'd love to have a conversation with people about because I love reducing energy usage, or reduce your spend. And one way of reducing your spend is some of the schemes that we're good at and we know what we're doing. So yeah, it's been really exciting getting to know that and then building a team around it. So we've got a really exciting team of consultants. As I said before, a lot of our consultants are based in Casablanca, so that's quite good fun meeting those guys and build team. But we have fantastic teams all around the country: Bristol, Manchester, up in Scotland where you are, and in London where I am. So yeah, it's an exciting time for the energy brand.
Oh, definitely. I mean, talking about feeling like you're having an impact, like I can imagine you're having conversations with businesses in the UK right now where they're actually feeling like they can keep the lights on and they can keep paying people's payroll because they're getting a break on some of the taxes that they're due to pay on their energy expenditure, just with the incredible amount of money that energy is costing at the moment. So
yeah.
I mean, I can imagine that's incredibly rewarding.
It is, and it's a real struggle for people out there. You know, you will see a lot. There's a lot, obviously, in the press about the cost of living crisis, and particularly around the domestic market and energy bills. But I think what isn't talked about a lot is it's impacting the business world, which will knock an effect to everyone. My parents owned a flower shop for 30 years. Just down the coast, just off Blackpool, down a place called Thornton Cleveley's. And I think now, and I often think with what's gone on in the last 3-4 years around energy, my dad wouldn't have been able to get through that. He'd have had to shut his shop. He's retired now, but he'd had to shut his shop. You know, and how does he put food on the table? How does he buy clothes for his kids? And I think about that as just my dad and his flower shop. I then look at massive organisations and the pressure on, you know, on senior people to, you know, the decisions they're having to make. If your energy bill has gone 3-4 times higher than it was, you've got to make decisions, and those are really difficult decisions for businesses to make. So it is rewarding to be able to say to them, we can help a bit, and actually that money we can save you can put back into a different part of the business, or you can utilize it elsewhere. So what I would say also is, and that's across all of our products, that's not just energy. Cost of energy is impacting businesses, but we have products that actually can help them, support them, and generate a saving for them in other areas. And if you can do that, and that can help you get through what is a challenging energy moment, that would be great. I mean, energy prices have dropped down. They're a lot better than they were this time last year, but they're still higher than probably my entire time of being in the energy industry. So I think if you can do that, I think it's great. And I think if you can do that by being sustainable as well, that would be even more wonderful.
I know, and I think that's the other thing, isn't it? You're in this excellent position to be able to consult with businesses and look to see, you know, is there a way that we can reduce the energy that you're using, and to make things more sustainable long term, because these tax incentives are fantastic and they're able to support businesses right now, but what can we do in the long run to make your business more sustainable and to be better for the planet and for the future?
That's exactly it. I mean, there's a scheme that came out just last week, actually, a scheme that came out for large businesses that only available for 90 days. So between now and the middle of July, businesses have that time to apply, and that can save a considerable amount of money on their energy bills. A lot of businesses don't know about that. So that scheme launched last week. So that's an example of a scheme that we can help with. And if you know, as an organisation, I've always been a believer in expertise. I've always been a believer in having knowledge and going to people who know what they're talking about. So if I'm an organisation, you know, and you want advice, speak to us. You know, the worst case scenario is we'll turn around and have a look at everything and go, well, sorry, there isn't probably anything that works for you right now. But businesses aren't going to know about these schemes. They're not highly advertised. You have to go looking for them. When you find them, it's quite difficult sometimes to understand the guidance and understand whether you're eligible. We've a lot of time understanding it ourselves. So our guys work really hard. A lot of their day is spent understanding guidance and understands. We have fantastic relationships with HMRC. So we talk to them. So essentially, we understand these rules on behalf of our clients. I believe a lot of what we offer is that expertise and that knowledge. And you can't buy that. So as a business owner, you get on with running your business, allow us to get on with seeing we can save you some money. And then I think that's a winner for everybody. So it's tough. And it's tough for businesses who are looking to be more sustainable at the moment. That's a challenge for them as well, because look, they're trying to keep their head above water. And I get that. But, you know, if we can help support them on that as well as saving money, I think that would be a real benefit to businesses.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic position to be in, and I'm sure that a lot of people are very grateful for the support that you and your team and the wider Leyton business have been able to offer in the last little while, which is fantastic. So before we sign off today, Zac, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about or to bring up on the podcast?
The other thing I would say, interestingly, because I'm in a unique position that I've been in the business a short while, so only 9 months. I think the other thing I would say, to anyone listening to this is what Leyton also offers is a really, really good place for people. The thing I probably enjoy most about my job is the people development part. It's the bit that so in the last few years, I always used to manage teams, and then I moved away from that a tiny bit and did a lot of business development stuff. But the bit I really loved was working with people, particularly younger people, and helping develop them and seeing them kind of grow. And I think what I've seen at Leyton is a business that allows us to do that as well, and is really, really passionate about it. I've worked for businesses that are outwardly passionate but actually don't necessarily put the money where their mouth is. Businesses that are really passionate but don't maybe put the emphasis on it. I think Leyton have got a really, really good a good split in that, and I think it's a great place to come and actually develop. So I think going back to the kind of the marathon stuff, one thing I would tell myself if I was back in my 20s, told myself in my 20s I would run a marathon, but also that marathon training bit of consistency and trusting in the process. I would certainly recommend, Leyton's a good place to be able to come and trust in that process to help development. So I think a lot of emphasis on is development and helping people be the best version of themselves they can be, which is all you can ever do, which is the only best version of yourself. So I think certainly that's something I've also taken from my very short time at Leyton.
I know, I feel like Leyton time is in its own little vortex. Something weird 100%. Happens when you're here. Time flies, but it feels like forever at the same time. No, it's I completely agree with you. There's clear investment in people's development, and the people who are in leadership positions here, like yourself, Zac, you really invest the time, the effort, the care into your people and making sure that you're developing your people, which is so important, and it's massively beneficial and I think valued by the people who are able to benefit from it. So
yeah, it is. I think it's interesting. Businesses are made up of people, and I think we sometimes forget that, particularly when when our clients' point of view. You kind of think about it, and I talk a lot to businesses. I don't. I talk a lot to people.
Yeah,
that's who I'm talking to. I work at businesses, so to kind of you look at the problems people are having around the energy costs as an organisation, but it's people who are really struggling with those concepts. It's people who are having to deal with the fact that they have to cut costs in their organisation because the cost of energy's gone up. It's people who make those decisions. It's not businesses, and I think we often forget that. And we talk about a business when actually we're talking about a person. So one of the things I think that's absolutely it. I think you've got to invest in people, and you've got to treat people as well as you can and support them in being that. And then from a client point of view, I think it is important to remember clients are, you're talking to a person, and that person is sat there with an energy bill that's 3-4 times higher, and they're having to make very difficult decisions that will impact people's lives. That's a difficult position to be in. It's a stressful position to be in. So I think, ultimately we all want the same thing, and we want to help each other. So I think that's a key thing for us to remember, and I always kind of instill that in our consultancies. Remember, we're talking to people, and that's the main thing, and it's to come in and do the best they can. So if we can do it together, it's always much more fun doing things together than individually. So
I love it. That's brilliant, Zac. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the morning with me and having this lovely chat. I really enjoyed it. And thank you to everyone for listening along at home. I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. So we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time with our 7th episode, and we'll be waltzing into a chat with our very own Baz Williams. Baz is one of our fantastic BDM team, and he is an exceptional professional ballroom dancer and has successfully ran his own dance school alongside excelling in 360 sales for the past 6 years. We will be chatting all things entrepreneurial spirit with Baz. Until then, if you are one of the members in our talent community and you're interested in finding out more about what the future might look like at Leyton, please reach out to one of us here in the talent acquisition team. I'll put my contact details in the description below, or check out our careers page for the roles that we have live currently. We'll be back in a few weeks. Thanks again, Zac, for sharing your story. Thank you all for listening in. This has been episode 6 of the Life at Leyton podcast.